Good evening, everybody. Dutch football fans across the world. Netherlands 2, Austria 0 in the second group game in the Euros. Now, that was another good win. Netherlands topped the group. They're through to the last 16. I'm here, Mike's here, and we've also got a special guest, which is Lee tonight. And you might just be able to see he's wearing his Austria t-shirt. We're wearing our Netherlands t-shirts. We've got lots of opinion to give about the match, the pros, the cons, what Lee saw about the Dutch and let Austria down tonight. And I can see lots of comments coming in already from everyone at home who's watching live on YouTube. If you're watching live on YouTube, do drop us a comment. What did you think of the game? And if you're not watching live, leave us a comment afterwards, again, telling us what you thought of Netherlands 2, Austria 0. Now, without further ado, Mike, lots of positivity again. A lot of comments sort of saying, we weren't great, but we were good. And on the whole, though, a lot more positive than after the Ukraine match, which I was buzzing about because I thought it was a very good performance and they were justified with their late winner. But Austria game tonight, what do you think?
I think it was a steady professional performance from the start. I think the defence was on top, the midfield was on top for most of the game. I think in the attack, it was a bit sloppy at times. And I think Memphis gave the ball away quite a lot, and so did Weghorst. I think that Austria gave up so much space at the back that seeing that Weghorst trying to run through on through balls was not great at times. It was crying out for Malin to come on in the second half, and then he caused that second goal. Just his pace getting in behind and squaring for Dumfries. I think overall there's a lot of positives to pick out. I think Dumfries' performance again at right back. You've got Frankie and Wijnaldum in midfield playing sensationally. De Ligt coming back into the defence made 2 excellent blocks in the first half. I think him and De Vrij are a perfect partnership. It wasn't perfect, but it's the win that we needed, and we're through, top of the group, and 1 game to spare. We can actually rest some players ahead of the last 16.
So really good stuff from the Dutch. A great position to be in. Some comments from people watching live. Dave said, did what we had to do, weren't great, but not really challenged. I'll bring in Leon in a second to answer his thoughts on that. Jack says that Frankie was so good, so smooth, creates time and space so well. Wijnaldum working so hard. Memphis still a bit sloppy. Matthijs de Ligt was back in defence tonight, and it was one that made the difference. I was getting really sick of the British commentators saying Matthijs de Ligt. It's Matthijs de Ligt. Austria had no cutting edge. Aranya sharp, not sharp, but the better side clearly. And Rami, even Frankie wasted a few balls there towards the end. I think this 5-3-2 exhausts the midfielders. Too much running, too little support. Interesting opinion there. Bring a couple more up. Or maybe we'll talk about this one a bit later, how De Boer will approach the final game and which players will play. So we'll come back to that one shortly, shall we? Lee, let's bring you in. Austria then. We talked before the tournament about how Austria were going to come into this being quite a negative side. What were your thoughts on the game tonight?
Yeah, well, that's pretty much what I said to you before, wasn't it? I was expecting them to really underperform at this tournament. And then, of course, they had that opening win against North Macedonia, and that was the first tournament win since 1990. You allow yourselves to enjoy that. You allow yourself to, maybe get a little bit excited or expect that they might go on to do some good things. But I think we saw the real Austria tonight up against a much higher quality opposition in the Netherlands. I think, as your listeners put it in the comments, they were completely right. Austria didn't challenge. They gave them far too much space, maybe a little bit too much respect as well. And I think the most disappointing thing was to see Austria only really go for it towards the end. And of course, they did that probably knowing that they needed a goal. As it stands, a draw against Ukraine in the final game won't take them through now in second place. They needed 1 more goal to get that. So all in all, it was a really disappointing night, I thought. And congratulations to the Netherlands, because it was very much deserved.
Cheers. And where do you think you'll go from here then? You had a decent win against North Macedonia, or was it because it was North Macedonia that you were able to get that win? Because if you get that point or that win against Ukraine, a performance like that against the Dutch tonight doesn't stand you a good stead going forward into that last 16, does it?
It really doesn't. And I mean, I'm not even sure whether Austria would deserve a place in the last 16 at the moment. Ukraine, I thought, were much worthier opponents and challengers to the Netherlands in the last game. I'm just really disappointed because, They started again with the same formation tonight. Alaba in the centre of the back three. Obviously, that works against North Macedonia. They were probably hoping it would work tonight. But some of the team selections as well. You had our two forwards were Gregoric and Marcel Sabitzer, neither of whom are out-and-out strikers. Sasha Kaladzic starting on the bench, and of course Arnautovic suspended as well. So I just thought the way it all came together, they were toothless tonight. There was no cutting edge at all. And then, of course, some silly mistakes at the back. The penalty, which, by the way, definitely was a penalty. And then, letting Depay and Dumfries get in behind for the second goal. So I think, they were just outplayed tonight. You have to admit the Netherlands were the better team.
Who do you think were those players that were standing out against Austria tonight?
Well, you have to say that Depay's pace, I know he's an easy one to pick out, but I thought Depay always looks very dynamic and dangerous when he runs forward. And, the centre of midfield, Frankie de Jong and Wijnaldum, they look good. So, I do wonder really if we've really seen the Netherlands being properly tested at this tournament so far. So from your point of view, you've come up against the Ukraine side that gave it a good go and an Austria side that was pretty average. So maybe there are stronger tests for the Netherlands to come in the knockout stages. But yeah, I think you guys comfortably look the best side in the group, and it's quite easy to foresee the Netherlands finishing on maximum points. So it's looking very positive from a Dutch point of view, I would say.
Thanks, Lee. I'll bring a few comments in that came in about Austria. That Austria was sometimes rather scary in attack, but posed no real threat in the end. Mike, do you think that was because of the Netherlands defending better tonight, perhaps more joined together than they were against Ukraine? Did the Ligt have an impact, do you think? Or was it the fact that Austria were more toothless?
I think Austria were very toothless, but I think you could see why they chose Gregoric and Sabitzer up front was to get a bit more dynamism in the attack, get the ball down and play a little bit. And then towards the end, you started to see them pump a few more balls into the box, bring Kaladzic on with his height. But again, all of those balls into the box, none of them really presented, apart from that one corner, that corner where the ball just sort of drifted narrowly past the post. But apart from that, the Netherlands looked very comfortable defending all of those balls into the box. They were happy to eat them up and deal with the danger. So yeah, good defending by the Netherlands, but Austria really, really offered nothing. And I don't really think there was any point after that early penalty, where I thought, yeah, they're going to get back into this game. I just, after that point, maybe it's the pessimism in me in the build up to the tournament, but I just presumed that the Netherlands would grind out the win from there. However.
What do you think, Mike? Who? I guess was it more Netherlands being good, Austria being poor, or a bit of both?
I think it was a bit of both. I think first half, Netherlands were dominant defensively. There's a few moments where Austria broke that they might have been a bit dangerous, but I thought Netherlands dealt with everything pretty well. The thing that would worry me a bit is they did switch off towards the end a little. There was a few sloppy passes from the midfield, and Austria did have a few chances. I think we stood off Alaba and he smashed the shot just wide. And I don't know who the Austrian forward is, but he got a header at close range, which Stekelenburg saved. Just sloppy moments like that might come back to bite them if they play against stronger sides. I wouldn't say that this was a great defensive performance. I think that if you're playing against a better team, there's holes there to be picked. And I was a bit worried after Darun getting such an early yellow card that Austria are going to put him under some pressure and he might make a silly second challenge to get sent off. But yeah, he just sort of coasted around the rest of the game. He wasn't really needed. So thankfully we weren't up against a brighter attack. Maybe Arnautovic's absence helped that. But yeah, I thought it was a mature performance. I thought De Vrij and De Ligt were excellent. And De Vrij's runs forward are becoming a real weapon for Netherlands in this tournament. You saw it, he helped cause the penalty. And then there's one in the second half where he just burst forward onto the right wing. So it's great to see De Vrij and Daley Blind getting forward whenever they can to help the attack. It's great to see.
Certainly was. And Lee, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I know that you're out and about and you've enjoyed the match out tonight. But before you do go, would you just like to let us know what you're up to when it comes to Austrian football?
Yeah, sure. We do pretty much what you guys do for the Netherlands. We make podcasts, and we will be doing so not after every match, but at the end of the group stages. So you can follow us for more on the Austrian angle at Other Bundesliga on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Well, Lee, thanks for joining us tonight. And there's much more to come on our stream right now. But Lee, thank you for joining us on your evening out.
Yep. Thanks for having me, guys, and many congratulations. Best of luck for the rest of the tournament.
Cheers. All the best to you too.
See ya.
Bye.
If you are a Football-Oranje fan and you're enjoying what we're doing so far, do give us a like on YouTube. You can see them coming in already. Lots of comments have come in. We'll get many more of those on screen shortly. Mike, there was some more promising performances tonight from players who surprised me going into a tournament. Dumfries again was amazing. Perhaps not quite as standout as he was against Ukraine, but I think against Ukraine he had a pretty poor marker in Marlos on that left-hand side for Ukraine. But tonight again was really, really important. Won the penalty and scored a goal.
Yeah, I mean, there is always in these tournaments just one player that comes into it and then just has an absolute worldie, and then gets linked to every major club in Europe. And it might be Dumfries this time. He's in the shop window and he's playing some of the best football. I've seen him in a Netherlands shirt by far. Just his power on the right and his willingness to attack is causing mayhem for Ukraine and Austria so far. And yeah, I think he's had a hand in every goal Netherlands have had so far. So it's just a standout for me. And I think going into the tournament, he was criticised quite a lot, and rightly so for some of his performances in the Netherlands shirt. But he's been a real standout so far. And if you're talking about Netherlands attack, so far not really clicking. Thank God for Dumfries, because he seems to be the most player Netherlands have at the moment.
He has been great, and he at PSV was doing these things before, but I didn't think he'd be able to do this on an international stage against the teams that he's doing it against. When he was playing for PSV at right back, he's a very tenacious defender, but also comes forward a lot. And there was a season, I think, where he scored 7 goals in the league even. He's that threatening from fullback. And yeah, he's had 2 very good performances since then. Do you know, I've actually got some sources that have been telling me some things about where Dumfries is going to end up this summer. I know he's been linked to Everton, but I have actually heard that before the tournament started, he's had a move agreed to Everton already. So let's see what happens after the tournament. But yeah, I've got a couple of sources that are actually saying that will happen, and it's already been agreed. Maybe Everton got in there quick before his price shot up after the Euros. Maybe they saw something good going on, or it's all falsified, or maybe it's not 100% agree with Everton yet, and it may yet the price will go up if Everton still want to sign him, or another club could jump in for him. So there was a good question that came in. I had him screenshot a little earlier that how would De Boer approach the final game against North Macedonia? I mean, for me, he's got to rest a lot of players and play Gravenberch, play Marlon, give him some minutes, and maybe play a few of those key players, give them a half each. Maybe you play Frank for 45 minutes, Memphis for 45 minutes, because the formation is still new, it's still really fresh. I don't think you can completely change the lineup, but surely this is a chance for De Boer to rotate. Yeah,
it has to be. It has to be resting those players for the last 16. I think if you look at sort of players like Daley Blind, he's been rested quite a lot. He comes off quite early in these games. I know he wasn't too happy looking tonight getting taken off, but I think he needs the rest against North Macedonia. I really, really hope that Gakpo and Coop Miners are in the squad, because if they're not going to play against North Macedonia, they're not going to play at all for the rest of the tournament. So just give them some minutes. I don't know why you're taking from the under-21s and not even play them in the pre-Euro friendlies. I mean, there are only 2 players apart from Bezo who hasn't actually played a minute so far. So maybe cruel for De Boer to then leave them 2 in the stands again for this match coming up. I think give the other players a run out. It is a good match to keep the rhythm going, but really it doesn't really have much importance on it. They've won the group. They've got 6 points. Nothing's going to change whatever the result is against North Macedonia. Give some of the players a run out. Start with De Jong and Malin up front, or even just go 4-3-3 for a game. If you're going to play Berghaus and Promise, Malin for the middle, Gravenberch, Coop Miners in midfield. Give some a rest. Put Timber back in there. Yeah, just change it up a little. Give the players a rest, and then just that helps the squad unity as well going into the last 16. If some players aren't getting the minutes, they might start to get a bit annoyed. Give them a run out against North Macedonia. Keep the squad unity up, and then hopefully end with a win and boost their confidence as well.
Yeah, sure. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Quincy Mainich make his Dutch national team debut, a right wing back. You never know. Because apparently he suits the role very well. Shahid, far from perfect, but on to the next round as group champions is a very positive thing. Let's bring up some more comments on. I haven't seen them, the latest ones. I imagine there's plenty more coming in. We're slow sometimes at finishing and also in passing. Team needs to be more clinical or else we'll bow out in humiliating fashion. We always said before tournament that coming up against top teams is still going to be the problem for the Netherlands. It's still going to be the challenge. I think that's still the case. I don't think they're going to be humiliated, though. I think they're going to put in a good performance against whoever they play. We got a thumbs up for the jerseys tonight. I think that's more for yours, though, mate. Yeah, yours is better. Yours is more classic.
Gone retro tonight.
We had another one from I don't know if they use name. There's no name there. Gini and Frankie excellent in the middle. De Ligt and De Vrij make a solid. Phil team can still step up a gear. Depay will come good soon. 4-3-3 against North Macedonia. I'd still be tempted to play the 5-3-2. Not that it was my choice for the tournament, but if you're going to play the formation and it's new, keep playing it against North Macedonia. Needs to be more compact defensively. I want to set up Wijnaldum as a workhorse, but his quick passing is absent. Just a must in the final third. What are your thoughts of Wijnaldum tonight, Mike?
I thought he was excellent. I thought he shielded the ball brilliantly. Some of his powerful runs from the midfield in the second half were outstanding. He was a bit unlucky way on because there was a great move where he dummied it past the Austrian defender and he slipped up at the last moment. I think that for me, he's been one of the best players in the Netherlands shirt the past 2 games. I criticised him going into the tournament. I thought he had a few off matches, but I think he's been great so far, and he's the captain and he's leading by example. I think Liverpool fans must be watching these games and shedding a little tear because he's shown his top form when he plays for Netherlands, and PSG have got themselves a great player, and I think that Netherlands are going to go far in the tournament. You'll see Wijnaldum and Frankie really dominate the midfield, and that's great to see because that's what they're doing so far.
Yeah, Frankie was excellent tonight. For me, man of the match. And Wijnaldum also playing very well ahead of him. Him playing as a 10 behind these 2 strikers, it really suits him because he can come out into the wings and support them, but also play some really technical football with his skills outside the box. It does suit him that role. A couple more comments. Ryan, thrilled with how we started this tournament. 2 games and group winners. Wow, who could ask more than that? Game is never in doubt, but can't keep missing easy chances. I don't think the Netherlands created too many openings tonight, although there were a few chances. A couple from Marlon at the end, I think he should have buried. And at this comment, I want to get your thoughts on, Mike. The new formation is allowing our wing-backs to flourish. Dumfries has been excellent. Mike, how are you eating humble pie, and do you think the formation is now a positive thing?
It has its up and downs. I think, it's been good so far. So you need to stick with it because it's working with Dumfries. There was parts before we scored, Austria sort of dominated possession. I don't really like that. I don't like Netherlands giving up so much of the ball and just sitting back. Because against better teams, they'll pass through this Netherlands side. There's a few times where Austria could have got in, but they didn't. If Portugal or Spain or France come up against this formation, they're just going to pass it around and get through, I think. So there's still work to be done, but it was definitely a more compact defensive performance, and 5-3-2 is working defensively in midfield. The only thing that's not working right now is up front. Dumfries being the main attacker isn't really what you want to see. You want to see Memphis and Weghorst dominate in the front. I don't think that's really happening just yet. And the formation doesn't suit players like Berghuis, who we talked about before the tournament, saying he was the stand-up Netherlands attacker. He's not even got a sniff so far because he can't play in his formation, so it doesn't suit him. Gakpo's getting left out because it doesn't suit him, so still work to be done. I'm happy with how it's gone so far, and 5-3-2 has been good, but it'd been interesting to see how different would have been if it was 4-3-3, because if it's Dumfries that was getting in behind constantly, then surely Berghuis would have gotten behind as well. So you got to say De Boer deserves credit. I think he's done well so far, and we're all eating humble pie for that, because I think all the pundits were as well, because we all expected Netherlands maybe to have a bit of disaster for so far, but it's 2 wins, 6 points, clean sheet tonight. We're through, so you need to give it to De Boer. And as some people are saying in the comments, if the luck of the draw comes in, Netherlands could reach the semi-finals without meeting one of the top nations. So we just need to wait and see. Hopefully the groups go Netherlands' way and they don't get the third place from the Germany group. And yeah, sky's the limit.
I need to look at these comments. I'm still finding my way down, but loads have been coming in. I've got to say, we spoke about it in the last one, Mike, when you weren't here, that it's the power of the wristbands. I'm telling you now. These Football-Oranje wristbands are great. We had a few more orders come in after the last podcast. So if you still want to get yourself one, there's still a link in the YouTube description to get yourself a Football-Oranje Euro 2020 wristband. Some more comments. I'll flash a few up. Probably have to miss a few out though because we're running out of time. But good penetration to 5 defenders and a Rome. There's only 4 real attacking options in De Jong, Depay, Gini and Wout Weghorst. A nice one from Ryan again, that they're a team and they're very unselfish together. I can see someone here saying about Dumfries as well, just really excelling. Another one here, again saying about Dumfries. Decision-making in the final third could improve, but he is a right-back. I think he was also centre-back when he first started off with Sparta and Heerenveen. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. I know he became a right back very quickly though. I
always thought he was a right back at Heerenveen as well.
Fair enough. What else have we got? Well, also do you prefer 4-3-3? 5-3-2 does allow Dumfries to get forward and attack. De Rome must be out for the next game. Mike agrees. Klaassen was more in attack. I still think that Frankie would do a good job sitting deeper, and someone like Havenberg or maybe Klaassen, could play a little further forward with Wijnaldum. Love this and Jason. Love what I'm seeing. Do we allow ourselves to hope for a berth in the semis? Liam, Marlon start the final game with Dutch already through. Thoughts on that one, Mike? I think so.
Yeah, I think he's done enough in the last 2 games to justify a starting spot. You could even say that he's justifying maybe getting played over Weghorst at the moment. His pace and his directness are such a weapon on the counter that he has to be an option for De Boer.
This one here, De Ligt certainly solidified at the back tonight. And Matt says it was a good game from Van Aanholt as well. Yeah, he was decent, made a few good tackles as well tonight and was more threatening going forward, played on a couple of really good crosses. Junior Frank very good in the middle. And Rami actually thinks it's a bad idea to make changes for the next game. We're going to comment again about the jerseys.
It was Huntar, but the player name is sort of rubbed off. It's such an old shirt, but I won't show you. But it was Huntar when I got it.
I think this is comment you talked about, wasn't it, Mike, from Quentin, that it looked like we could have a really easy path to the semis so long as other groups go as expected. Well, yeah, we'll have to see what happens with this third place team that the Netherlands draw. It seems so uncertain what's going to happen with that. I've now heard it's one of the best placed third place teams rather than one of the worst. So I'm getting rather confused with it. But I think at the end of the day, they play a third place team. We go from there. And they should be they should be beating that team, I think.
Depends who it is, really. I mean, we all thought we'd face somebody like Turkey in the quarterfinals if they got through the group and they've had an absolute stinker. So it could be anyone when you get through to the quarterfinals, last 16. You're looking at teams like Denmark, Russia, Wales. I mean, it could be really anyone.
A few more comments. This 5 at the back with Virgil van Dijk would be really good. Van Aanholt is clearly better than Wijndal. And I want to get your thoughts on this, Mike, because this comment's particularly interesting. What do you think of the midfield? Does it just dominate games enough? For me, I thought Austria didn't have enough people in the midfield tonight and they lost that battle pretty easily. But let's look at the midfield that they're up against, a very high quality one. So how do you think that will rate up against teams like Italy, France, Belgium?
I think you've got 2 world-class players in there with Wijnaldum and Frankie who can play up against any midfield. Again, worries Darun. Saw the stats that in the first half, he was the Netherlands player who gave away the ball the most. And he just doesn't do anything for me in that midfield. I know he pops up with a tackle here and there, and people that defend him saying that he sweeps up balls and does tackles, but when you're playing the five at the back and with Frankie and Wijnaldum, he's someone that has a bit more going forward. And I think that if you had Gravenberch in there, even Klaassen, it would dominate teams even more because you could pass around him a bit more. Just the run with the ball at his feet, he's not good enough, and he can't play those killer balls that a Koop Miners could play or a Gravenberch could play. So I think that Frankie and Wijnaldum are a match for any midfield in this tournament. But when you've got De Roon as the third man, they could get overwhelmed.
And against teams where he should be dominating in that midfield, he's actually been pretty poor. So would he miraculously step up his performance against an Italy, or is he going to be even worse because he's been given the ball away so much that it's getting wild that De Boer keeps choosing him. He's the only midfielder that's like him, though. Koop Miners isn't quite as battling in the midfield and didn't quite go for quite so many tackles, but he's better on the ball, and therefore is worth having if De Roon isn't actually winning all of his balls in midfield. A comment came in asking about the third place team again. So if the Netherlands win the group, which they have, I understand this is the third place team from the Germany group. Not necessarily. That's right, Mike, isn't it?
Yeah, well, consulting my wall chart, it says it's a third place team from groups D, E, and F. But every single time I did the Telegraph predictor, I would come up with Germany. So we just need to, everyone else's guess is as good as mine. Let's hope it's not somebody like Germany. Let's hope it's not that sort of level of a team. But even then, it could be somebody such as Croatia or somebody like that. So you just don't know. So yeah.
Are you assuming that Scotland are going to finish second in their group, and that's why Croatia will be third?
Or could be Czech Republic.
Rush to the side there.
But yeah, we'll see what happens with Scotland tomorrow. But yeah, so you put me on to talk about Scotland. My head's gone. But yeah, we'll see we'll see how we get. We'll see what happens when the third place teams actually fall, because there's some nations that just haven't done what they should have so far. And then you always look at our France-Germany group, and then results could go either way, because I thought Germany were actually quite decent against France at points. And
at points, yeah.
At points. And then Portugal weren't great against Hungary until the last sort of 10 minutes. So who knows? I don't think any nations have really stepped up so far in this tournament. I think France were decent. I think Belgium were decent once De Bruyne came on today. Italy have been fantastic. But you look at nations like Spain, they weren't great against a poor Sweden side.
I fell asleep in that match.
Well, it's awful. Dreadful stuff. England, I don't think Croatia were up to much.
But tactically very sound, though. I'm trying to beat the England gem too much, but they're pretty solid, and they've got plenty more to give, I think.
I think the Netherlands would avoid England for quite a while, so that's a good thing. So yeah, it all just really depends on what draw they get. It's the luck of the draw. If they avoid one of the really top nations in the last 16, then the world's oyster for the Netherlands side. If they can step up their performance in attack, if that's the frightening thing for me, is that Netherlands have won 2 games and Memphis hasn't played well in either of them. So what's going to happen when Memphis actually does start to play well? If he does start to play well, then you never know. And Memphis will step it up when they come up against top nations as well. So yeah, I'm feeling very, very positive after the 2 wins. So we just need to see what happens.
Fair enough. John says that we should put one of our Football-Oranje wristbands on Gravenberch and let him start against De Roon instead of De Roon. Fair enough. It could be Croatia, Slovakia, or Germany that they meet in the next round. Slovakia in the last 16, you'd like to think they can get past. I just think they want to try and conserve energy as well for the last 8, so a favourable draw would be massive. And then last 8 onwards, we'll have anyone, and then it's all about trying to win the tournament from there. Rob says, great results, but we can't get overconfident. We allow many chances, and we're lucky we didn't get punished. Same again, really, as in the friendlies, I suppose, but not convinced by De Roon or Blint. He prefers Ake and Gravenberch. I think we need to wrap up, Mike. But before we do go, there's plenty happening on the website tonight. I think there might be some reactions to the game coming up really soon. And your player ratings. Who was your man of the match tonight?
You need to wait and see on the website now. But I think it's a toss-up between Frankie, Wijnaldum and Dumfries for me. The three of them I thought were excellent. Then, even then, it could be De Ligt or De Vrij. It's 5 players that really stood out for me today. If it was a midfield masterclass, if it was a centre-back masterclass by De Vrij and De Ligt, and Dumfries is just a sensation. I really hope that PSV haven't accepted an offer from Everton for him already, because John de Jong will be counting the money right now if Dumfries keeps playing like this, because there's got to be some crazy bids for him if tournaments go as they usually do and nations get filled by players playing well in big tournaments and start throwing money around, and Dumfries could be that one.
So right, all of those years where he wasn't quite impressing the Champions League matters little when you can perform in the Euros the way he is. But a good player nonetheless, and he'll have a great career. So if you're new to Football-Oranje, please do subscribe to what we're doing here on YouTube too. We've got match reactions up from each of the group games, and going into the last 16, there'll definitely be a preview and a match reaction to that too. So do subscribe. You can put your notifications on too, and then you'll definitely see the things that we're up to. We'll be uploading every few days now as the tournament continues. And you can also go back and watch our preview for tournament, for the group. If you want to hear about North Macedonia, go back and check that. There's lots more you can find on our website and our other platforms too. You can follow both of us on Twitter. We're both here. You can see our tags on Twitter there. And we'll see everybody for the North Macedonia match. Don't forget to like the video before you go. Subscribe if you're new, and head over into our YouTube channel or our website. Plenty more happening. Have a good evening, everybody.